Yeah, I can do that. So starting out as Brother Voodoo, it was a mantle that was passed down through generations to people that could access these certain abilities and learn the ability to use the Voodoo. Jericho Drum fell into this mantle when his brother Daniel Drum was mortally wounded. Both of Haitian descent, they were able to pull on the Loa to access power from different sets of gods. And for years, Voodoo was that character that kind of just came in and helped when people needed a specific type of help. A lot of times coming out of New Orleans, he helped with Blade, he's helped with Deadpool, he's helped in various little things, but he was kind of this little bit character that would just come in, give some advice, do a little thing, and then you wouldn't see him for a little while. But after various events with Dr. Stephen Strange, he felt like he was not really up to the task of being Sorcerer Supreme. I mean, he had failed with Wanda with the mutant issue. He had been part of the whole sending Hulk off thing. There was the Civil War stuff that had happened. And he was just really shaken and did not feel he was up to the task of being Doctor Strange. So he set out to find a new Sorcerer Supreme. The Eye of Agamotto then shows them all the candidates, and one of those candidates happened to be Jericho Drum, Brother Voodoo. And as the Eye went and tested a bunch of people, it inevitably chose Jericho to be the new Sorcerer Supreme. And considering he is an actual doctor of psychology, it seemed apt to just go ahead and call himself now Dr. Voodoo. And although short-lived, his time as Sorcerer Supreme was tumultuous to say the least. He pushed himself past places that Dr. Stephen Strange did not want to go to. And Stephen was actually pretty worried about the new Sorcerer Supreme burning himself out or pushing himself to a place that he, might not survive. I mean, considering he used almost all of his life force to trap Dormammu at one point. But Jericho basically tells him, look, the Eye of Agamotto picked me because I'm willing to do stuff that you won't. But not long into his journey as Sorcerer Supreme, of course, Doom comes a-calling. And he attacks him at his clinic, and so of course, wanting to protect the people, he sends his brother. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, his brother is actually a spirit who can not only possess other people, but if he comes into Jericho's body, Daniel and him merge and actually make Jericho physically stronger. Anyway, he gets Daniel to possess Doom, and Doom sends Daniel away. It seems like he kills him. And then at this point, Jericho teleports both of them away from the clinic to protect people. Of course, Doom always has a plan, so he knew that was coming. He changed the teleportation spell and teleportation spell and sent them actually to a moon of Jupiter. While there, he had these slugs that eat magic, and he ends up telling Jericho, look, just give me the Eye of Agamotto and anything else that the Sorcerer Supreme got. It's like a powerful magical artifact. I'm taking it. But Jericho, he don't care about slugs. He don't care. He's gonna do what he's gotta do. So they start fighting. I mean, this is like an epic fight. Like they're going through dimensional barriers and all over the place. But Jericho's weakened at this point, so Doom ends up winning the fight, and he takes the Eye of Agamotto. But then the Eye shows him something. It's like a glimpse of the future. And so at this point, Doom drops the Eye of Agamotto and basically is like, good luck, peace out. I'm not taking a part of this. And so at this point, Jericho's kind of stuck in this weird realm. He gets attacked by these frog demon things. And he eventually gets out after being confronted by the ghost of his parents and the person that killed him. And it all ended up being this big demon entity thing that was happening. And then there was this more powerful entity that he didn't realize was watching him the entire time, who ended up being a being called Nightmare. Now, this storyline is crazy because Nightmare ends up coming into the world, and when he does, he's possessing everybody, Ghost Riders, everybody. And so, he eventually has to work with Doom because Doom was able to activate this reality shield thing that was one of the things that could protect against Nightmare. And so they ended up fighting most of the heroes in Marvel and beating them. In the end, this reality shield was one of the only things that could really affect Nightmare. So they came up with a plan where Daniel would sacrifice himself, but take the shield into Nightmare, thus making him human for a moment, or at least mortal, to where he could feel pain. And when that happened, Doom was able to transport him and absorb a lot of his magical power. Of course, Doom being Doom, they won the fight, so now he's going to take this advantage to try to, get over Dr. Voodoo again. But little did he know, Jericho knew what he was going to do, and Daniel wasn't actually dead. He didn't sacrifice himself, and so they used that moment for him to possess Doom again, and they defeat him. Dr. Voodoo's time as Sorcerer Supreme was not very long, and unfortunately Marvel has this really bad habit of underutilizing really cool characters, and so you saw him pop up here and there, but he didn't really have a lot of storylines, and in fact often kind of stayed to himself instead of really being a part of things. And it seems to me, I remember that time in comics, it seemed like a real waste because he's always had this really cool look to him, almost like some Spawn aesthetics, but just, I don't know, he seemed like a really cool character that I wanted to see more of. And the little bits that we did get him, you know, were awesome. But ultimately his story ends because Agamotto, which was the original Sorcerer Supreme, actually comes for his amulet, and they have to fight the entire Avengers, and there's all this possession stuff that happens, but at the end they empower Logan to go and fight Agamotto for a one-on-one fight for the eye. Of course, at this time Daniel was trapped in the spirit realm, and he didn't realize what was going on. He had reached out to his brother who thought he was dead, but it was like a short contact. It was just enough to get Dr. Voodoo to come to the fight. And when Daniel intercepted the fight between Agamotto and Logan, he tried to help, but that broke the rules. And so Agamotto was then going to kill both Daniel and Logan within this realm. But Dr. Voodoo goes in, Jericho says, nope, I'm not gonna let this happen, and he ends up sacrificing himself, and he banishes Agamotto at his own life. Of course, at this point, the story then goes into Daniel flipping out, thinking it was the Avengers' fault and everybody's fault that his brother died. And he just like becomes a full-on supervillain, like possessing everybody. And it was basically just a vehicle to get Doctor Strange back in the role of Sorcerer Supreme, which is unfortunate. I mean, I'm not saying that I thought that, you know, Dr. Voodoo would stay Sorcerer Supreme forever, but I didn't want to see Daniel become a villain after all this time. I mean, their dynamic was great, and I understand grief, but I don't know, it just seemed like a twisting of characters that I didn't really like how it went. At the end of the day, you know, he didn't stay dead, and I really hope that Marvel takes this character and his brother and really utilizes them more in the future. I mean, there's a lot of interaction with people. He dated Monica Rambeau at one point. He's a really cool character based out of New Orleans, where I'm from, so it's cool to see that setting. He interacts a lot with vampires. He had a really great run with Deadpool that everybody should check out. And ultimately, it's just one of those characters. We don't have a lot of Haitian characters, people from Haitian descent. And I just would be really cool to access that side of the magic of Marvel with the Loa and all the things that come behind it. But at the end of the day, yeah, I hope I answered your question, because that's Dr. Voodoo.